Subject, law of criminal procedure. Topic, the final verdict. Judgment, appeals, reference, and revision. Namaste, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's explainer. You know, if you've ever sat there wondering exactly what happens after all those dramatic closing arguments wrap up and the judge finally retreats to their chambers, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking the real, crucial mechanics of how a verdict is officially reached, how it's challenged, and ultimately, how it's finalized. So here's our game plan for today. It's pretty straightforward. First up, we'll dive into the core legal concepts. Second, we'll break down the execution workflow step by step. And third, we'll wrap the whole thing up with a summary and conclusion. Simple enough, right? Let's jump right in.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Core Legal Concepts. Specifically, we're looking at judgment and sentencing guidelines.
To truly grasp the nuts and bolts of criminal procedure, we have to start with this big foundational idea. It's called the balance of justice. Think about it like a massive tug of war. In any legal system, there's always this inherent tension, right? You have the immense, overwhelming power of the state pulling on one side and the fundamental rights of the individual pulling on the other. To keep this from just becoming a chaotic free-for-all, we rely on a very strict procedural structure. And in India, this structure has now been comprehensively mapped out under the BNSS, the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. As you probably know, the BNSS recently stepped in to replace the decades-old Code of Criminal Procedure, or the CRTC. And the absolute core goal of this brand new code, it's to make sure that procedural rights and duties are crystal clear and totally transparent for everyone involved. Why does this matter so much? Well, because a law is literally only as good as the procedure used to actually enforce it. If a citizen is accused of a crime, they need to know exactly how their trial is going to be conducted, when they'll actually get a judgment, and what their rights to an appeal are. The BNSS draws these exact boundaries. It creates this predictable environment where judges, lawyers, and everyday citizens all play by the exact same transparent rulebook. It makes sure that justice isn't just some lofty, theoretical ideal in a textbook, but a practical, step-by-step reality. Moving right along to Section 2, the execution workflow, or basically navigating the legal mechanism. Let's explore how a case actually moves through this procedural machinery. It helps to think of it as a really strict three-step engine. Step 1 is initiating the mechanism. In the context of getting a final verdict or filing an appeal, this basically means formally submitting the required petitions, the charges, or the appellate documentation. It is the exact moment the gears start turning, where the court officially registers the matter and sets a timeline. Now, Step 2, that's validation and verification. Honestly, this is where the heavy lifting of the legal process happens. Here, the court meticulously pores over the evidence, listens to witness testimonies, and really scrutinizes the legal arguments. If we're talking about an appeal or a revision, the higher courts, like your Sessions Court or the High Court, they're validating whether the lower court actually applied the law correctly. They're strictly verifying that no procedural errors, no jurisdictional overreaches, or miscarriages of justice slipped through during the original trial. And finally, Step 3 brings us to closure. This is the formal delivery of the judgment and the application of those sentencing guidelines we talked about. But here's the thing. Closure isn't just a judge banging a gavel and handing down a simple guilty or not guilty verdict. No way. It is about providing a detailed, comprehensively reasoned written order that explains exactly why the decision was made. That's what ensures the whole process remains totally accountable. But as we navigate these procedural steps, guys, I need to warn you about a massive trap that legal practitioners and students alike are falling into right now. Because the transition from the old CRE-RPC to the new BNSS is still so fresh. People are constantly mixing up the provisions. Relying on old section numbers from the CRE-RPC is a critical error. I mean, it can completely derail a legal argument in court or absolutely tank an academic exam. For example, let's look at the timelines for pronouncing judgments. Under the new BNSS, you have to specifically refer to Section 392. This mandate explicitly lays out the strict timeline a judge absolutely must follow to pronounce a verdict after a trial wraps up. It's an essential safeguard so cases don't just drag on indefinitely. Another super important area is the scope of revisional powers. When you're asking a high court or sessions court to call for and examine the records of a lower court just to make sure a ruling was actually legal and proper, you must cite the updated BNSS mandates that govern revisional jurisdiction. Do not use the defunct CRE-RPC sections. Actually, scratch that. Just remember this. Precision isn't just a good idea, it is literally everything in law. So always anchor your arguments to the exact new section numbers. And just like that, we are at Section 3, Summary and Conclusion. Let's run through the final verdict checklist.
To bring this all together, we've successfully mapped out the core legal requirements under the new procedural code. We established exactly how the BNSS secures that all-important balance of justice by enforcing strict, transparent rules for everybody. Then we detailed the practical application by walking through our three-step engine: initiation, validation, and closure. We saw exactly how a legal case transforms from a simple formal filing into a fully reasoned written judgment. And finally, we reviewed the key safeguards. We highlighted just how absolutely crucial it is to use accurate, updated mandates, like Section 392 for judgment timelines, and how vital it is to truly understand the precise revisional powers of the higher courts. These foundational elements are exactly what keeps the legal machinery running fairly and transparently.
We are definitely going to continue this journey and explore the next phase of criminal procedure in our upcoming explainer. But before we go today, I really want to leave you with this thought. If procedure is the machinery of justice, are the new BNSS mandates actually making that machinery run smoother, or are they simply just changing the operator's manual? Think about it. It's a fascinating question, and we'll dive into those deeper implications next time. Namaste.